I can remember the day I walked out of work so clearly, as if it was just yesterday. I was in the bathroom getting ready for work, trying to put makeup on, but I kept crying and it wouldn't stay. That horrible feeling of it was just running and running, wouldn't stay on. And my ex-husband came in and stood at the door and said, "Chris, you're not easy to live with right now." And I wasn't. I was probably unbearable to live with by that point. I got in the car, put the air conditioning on full blast and drove to work feeling completely numb. And the whole world tipped upside down and kind of unravelled. From there, really, I went into a breakfast meeting. Something felt different, something felt like I was done. I almost felt numb, and I just remember closing my laptop down, and I just shut down physically, mentally, emotionally, and laptop closed and said, "I need to leave right now," and got to the car, and that was it. You know, I walked out of Barclays not knowing if I was ever going to go back. I came home, opened the door, put my bag on the floor, and I just collapsed in a heap on the floor and cried and cried, not knowing what was going to happen next. I got a doctor's appointment for the next day, and knew that it was the time to get help. I knew that I was unravelling spectacularly. The next day when I went to see the doctor, I didn't wear any makeup at all. I was past the point of trying to cover this up. I knew I needed help. The doctor told me I had a kidney infection, tonsillitis. I'd lost maybe a quarter of my hair. I was diagnosed with anxiety, stress, and I'd burnt out spectacularly. I'd had a pain in the back of my eye for weeks, and I kept thinking it was because I needed to get my eyes tested. I needed glasses, and it turned out my blood pressure was dangerously high and I was days away from a stroke. It was the biggest wake-up call that I've ever had, and the doctor told me that I'd burnt out and signed me off immediately from work for 4 weeks. It's a conflict of how I feel, actually, because on one hand, it felt like it was the end of the world, but on another, it was also a relief that I'd finally stopped. Somebody had given it a name. I'd burnt out, and there's only one way you can go from there. So it was probably one of the darkest days of my life, but it was also the start of me rebuilding. I knew I needed to create some new and sustainable ways of living. I learnt mindfulness and meditation. I started to walk every day. I had to learn to sleep again. And it takes time to heal from burnout. You don't need 2 weeks to recover. It takes years to reach burnout, and it takes a long time to recover as well. But you really, really can. I wish that I had had what we offer now in chapter 22. Someone to catch me before I reached that stage of burning out. In hindsight, I can see all of the signs and that I was heading there, but I didn't know what to look for. I didn't know what it was, and I wish somebody had caught me, because there's brilliant support out there when you hit burnout, but I feel so passionately about preventing others getting there. I wished I'd stopped somewhere between exhaustion and burnout, but unfortunately I didn't. That's the reason why I set up chapter 22, to be able to help others hopefully never get to that stage that I got to. But even if you do, I can help you. I can help you recover from it and never go back there. And for anybody who's going through that right now, just know burnout isn't the end of you. It wasn't the end of me at all. I went back to work. I experienced what we call post-traumatic growth off the back of burnout. I am so much more happy, healthier as a result of it, and you can be too. Burnout doesn't mean the end. You can go on to thrive after you've been through it. But please do not suffer in silence. I know at the end of the year it's really busy, you know, and there's a pressure with Christmas, particularly if you've got kids, or in work you're finishing 2025, setting up for next year. It just is a perfect storm. So if you're struggling and you need help, you don't know where to go, drop me a message. Just drop me an email or a text or WhatsApp, whatever. And there's also a masterclass running in January for anybody who's interested, the Antidote to Burnout.